Hi, my name is Mariana, and this is my new class. Well, probably it's not news for you, but it's my class about digital painting in Krita. If you are familiar with Krita, that's great. You can take the class, I guess. If you're not, well, you can take the class again, I guess. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be funny, I'm not. In this class, I'm gonna go over the brushes in Krita and how to paint with them. Because as a beginner, when I was on Krita, it was kind of tempting to draw in it, but it's not actually, and I'm gonna show you how you can do it in this class, and hopefully you will learn one or two things in the end. We're gonna paint a pot, yes, a pot, okay? It's a green pot. And you're gonna learn how to do that, I guess. How to shadow, how to shade that, how to color that, how to get that cool effect on it. And then at the end of the day, you can, choose your own style. And most importantly, you're gonna learn how to draw in Krita. So hop on, and I'm gonna see you there. Okay, so we're in Krita now, that's right. What we need to do from here is once again a canvas. Before I go there, you can obviously download this from the website. It's completely free, as I said. But I'm assuming if you're watching this class, you already have opened Krita before. So let's just dive in. What we're going to do is, obviously, new file over here. I'm just going to add some comments before I click create. It doesn't matter what kind of size we're going to use for this, so don't worry about this right now. The other thing I want to say is, if you know what kind of size you're going to use and you want your piece of work to be printed after you finish it, make sure before you even start your piece, you change the resolution to 300 ppi or dpi in some other programs, just because once you want to print your work, you would like to have the highest quality, and the standard for that is the ppi to be 300. That's the pixel per inch, I believe. And I'm assuming if you want to print this, you will also like to change the colors to be suitable for printing, which is over this in this case model. For Krita it says model, so it's this one over here. But if you're not gonna print this anywhere and you just want to learn how to use this program, I'm gonna use these dimensions over here, and I'm happy with the rest, so I'm gonna click create, and Krita will bring me a blank canvas. Yay. If you're new to Krita, well, that's great. So you get a canvas, you get two options over here. You get a layer options, layer panel, if you will, or layer docker, the way they call it, I believe in Krita. I could be wrong, don't listen to me. And also here, as you can see, there are a couple of brushes that we can pick faster, right? The other thing that you need to know, I'm using a screen tablet. I'm assuming that you may not have a screen tablet, which is not a problem at all. If you think about it, because probably you're using a graphic tablet. If you are completely new to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you want to get into digital painting, you should get either a graphic tablet or a screen tablet. The screen tablet, sorry, is a bit expensive than the graphic tablet, but by all means go for the graphic tablet. I started with graphic tablet. Whoever started the digital painting journey probably started with a graphic tablet. There's two brands out there that I personally recommend, and I think they're good at what they're doing. One of them probably have heard before is Wacom or Wacom. No, I don't know how you want to pronounce this. The way you pronounce it is probably the correct way. And the other one is Huion. Now, the difference between these two brands is Wacom, they have been here longer on the market. They are the more heavy price equipment, and Huion is the less expensive. And I believe recently they managed to bring up the quality. And my screen tablet I'm using now, which is the 12-inch tablet, is by Hoyan. So okay, that out of the way, let's just focus on Krita. I get a blank canvas like this. I can hold spacebar and I can move around my canvas. You can use that. You can scroll back and forwards, and you can zoom in and zoom zoom out and zoom in. Okay, let's just start. Let's just start drawing, because I'm not gonna bore you with my nonsense over here. As I said, we get a tablet, we get a two option here, we get a brush selection over here. We have our layer panel thingy over here, and we want to draw, right? Now, before you go nuts and start doing, pick a brush, you don't like this brush, you maybe let's just try that one, or maybe that one. No, maybe that. Wait, before you do that, because I'm assuming you want to, try all the brushes and see which one will fit you the best. Make sure, as you can see here, we have only one layer, and I want you to think of the layers as a blank sheet of paper. So if you only have one, in this case, not blank sheet, it's a sheet which is white, draw a bunch of lines on top, it's no longer a blank sheet, right? It's no longer a layer that we can manipulate easy. So always whatever maybe you want to start sketching or whatever you want to do, make sure you hit new layer from here. That's the icon for that. But before I hit the new layer, I'm going to use a command that probably you're familiar with, and that's Control and Z. This is like the best command. This is your best friend command, if you will. I'm going to hit Control Z one more time, one more time. There we go. So before I go crazy, I'm just gonna make a new layer, which is completely transparent layer that is not connected to the background, and we can start experimenting with the brushes. Now, why I say experimenting, our first task in this program will be to make a sketch, and to make a sketch I will give you the choice of any brush you want, so you can try all of these and see which one will work for you. Because if you look at their names, you will see that some brushes, their name is a pencil brush. Some people use this brush as a sketch brush, which works. I have nothing against that. You can use whatever brush you like, but I will encourage you to start with the basic brush. And it's funny because the name of the brush is also a basic brush, and what I mean by that is this brush over here, which is also called the basic brush, right? Now I have my brush over here. For some reason, at least I didn't have that problem, but if Krita doesn't sense your pencil, which means your pressure on the pencil, I can just hit Control Z and come over here on the icon of the brush, press that, and you can see my previous trial and errors over here. I can test my brush, right? Now, for some reason, maybe this thing will be off, and you will have something like this, and you will have no pressure sensitivity. That's because that's the reason why. You either have unchecked this by some reason, or you have unchecked this by another reason. But if you don't have pen pressure, if you don't have pen sensitivity, it's because in your brush options you haven't selected that. Okay, so no reason to put it there. Okay, let's just click aside, Control Z. Okay, we have a blank sheet of paper, a blank layer. That's what we have. We need to make sure we always have that. Let's just sketch, right? I got my brush over here. Over here on top, we have a size. And that size is for the brush, right? For sketching, I personally also prefer this brush for some reason. You may try another of the brushes. Oh my god, English. You may want to try something else here. By all means, go ahead. I'm just gonna go with this tutorial with this brush, basically. I like the size to be maybe around here to get thicker lines, but also to get very, very, very thin lines, right? just hit Control Z, zoom out, holding Shift. Why I keep saying Shift? It's space. Hold your space, and you can move around the canvas. Okay, so what we're gonna sketch. Your first sketch, I mean, it's not gonna be pretty. You will see mine. My idea for the first sketch, and I in this class, the first thing we're going to do, we're gonna paint a pot, a boiling pot, a witcher's pot, or whatever you want to call that. You know, those with the bubbles. That doesn't look like a pot. And this is not a sketch. Let me just remove this. So you can start your sketch anywhere on the canvas. It really doesn't matter. I'm just gonna, I don't know, maybe I'll pick a color from here. Maybe I don't want to have a black color. Maybe I want more of a gray color. And actually, before we even start sketch, I want my background to not be white. I want my background to be a little bit of gray color. And it's not very important. I guess it's a personal choice, but it's easier when you start painting to see if you have left some gaps on your illustration, because when it's white, it's not very visible. Okay, so I want this white background to become this color over here. So I'm gonna go here on the tools, and I'm gonna come here on the filter. This is the filter, right? Come here again, just click or whatever you want to do, and there we have a grayish background. We go back on our layer here. I go back here on my brush, or the shortcut for that to select the brush is B on your keyboard, right? So I have my brush. I will select a darker color now. I will start drawing a boiling pot. I don't know if that's how they call it. I will zoom in a little bit and I will start drawing a pot. I think it's, I hope this is easier for you. It doesn't need to be pretty, so don't worry if your pot is not the prettiest thing ever. There we go. We can give it a little bit of character. Oh my god, it's a huge pot. I can fit in twice. There you go. Now, is this a pot? If you want to make sure, if you're like trying to create a symmetrical forms, you can actually do that. And why I say that, because it's very there's not, I mean, obviously there's a shortcut, but it's over here. If I click this, if I make sure that I'm on the center of my amazing sketch, and I start drawing again, you'll see that whatever I'm drawing, it will be in exact symmetry as my other side. So again, this is just an optional thing that you can try. I just press to activate the eraser mode, which you can also press the E button on your keyboard, which I want to delete the extra lines I created here because I don't need them, and I want this to look, whoops, there we go, looks clean enough, and to start looking like a proper pot as much as we can. And this is very, very helpful, I believe, especially if you're struggling to make a good symmetry of something. When you press E again on your keyboard, you deselect the eraser mode, or if you don't want to remember that, you can literally come here, press it, now it's in eraser mode, come here again, press it, now it's on brush mode. Easy as that. Your sketch doesn't need to be fancy, as long as you can see the lines that you want to see. That these lines at some point will be our guidelines later on when we try to color this amazing pot. Selecting to have our brush again, It's easier once you know the basic commands, and your workflow becomes faster. Okay, so I can deselect that because I already have my perfect shape. That's nice, right? Now, as you can see, I'll hold spacebar. As you can see, my point is on one side of the canvas, and let's say I want to move this to be in the middle. Well, I can do that as long as my sketch is on a separate, on its own layer, right? In this case, it's this layer. You can always double click on the layer, double click on the layer. Come on, there we go, and name that layer sketch, so we know which layer is our sketch layer. Because once you start painting, you will get into a mess because we will create more layers over here, right? So let's move our pot into the center of the canvas. I don't need to do this because I can always cut the canvas the way I want to, but I need you to learn how you can use other tools except the brush or the fill tool. And there's two tools actually. Make sure your layer is selected. One of the tools is the transform tool, and the other tool is this tool over here. Or this one. Basically, both of them have the same function to move stuff. There we go. I'm moving my pot. I can move my pot with this transform tool. The only difference is when you select the transform tool, you can actually, well, you can transform, right? Press enter to this layer and hit Ctrl Z because I don't want to be in this position. And let's say I'm happy to be here, to be in the center of the canvas, and I can go back to my favorite brush tool, and I can start adding some extra lines over here and there, and I think, let's say this will be my final sketch. Okay, let's go and start shading this. Okay, and we're back. Once we're done with our sketching, now it's time to actually color. Now there's two ways to do that, I guess. Both of them are the right way to do it. I'm going to show you both of them basically. One of them is, I guess it really depends on the style that you're looking for. The first one I will show you, it's very it's similar to the comic book style, where you have thick lines and you have a coloring inside. So what we're going to do now is we have our sketch, and we're gonna go on our sketch layer, and we're gonna lower the opacity, let's say 50, and we're gonna create a new layer. You can name your layers. I am all for that. Let's just call these lines or cleanup lines, or I didn't write anything, did I? Okay, so my opacity of the brush was on that percent. There we go. We can now start do our lines. Now, what I like to do when I'm inking, because that's what we're going to do here, is to pick this brush again, lower the size, maybe to 50, depends. And what I like to do is come here on the brush settings, on the brush size, and as you can see, there's like different grabs that you can change. Hello, and you can test your brush here, right? I have shown you this earlier. What I like to do is choose this curve, which will allow me when I press harder to get thinner lines. When I release, when I press lighter to get thicker lines, or I don't need to put much pressure to get the same size of the brush. And I think that one is that's how I do it. That's how I do my line work. You, for example, you may choose some other brush from here. Let's say this one, which is not the best one, I guess. What is that? I think there's one that says ink brush. This one, and yeah, you get similar options. If I go here, this one is on the other side. You get these kind of line. You can lower your brush size, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. But I like to do it with this one, with the basic brush, and sometimes, yeah, it stays the same. There we go. So what else I just want to tell you before we start inking is you can rotate your canvas, and you can do that by with the help of your keyboard by pressing 4 on your keyboard. You can rotate on the left, and pressing 6 on your keyboard, rotating on the right. And if you press, let's say, just turn this around like that. Let's say if you press 5, it gets to the base position that it was before. So that out of the way, help it. Like, I know that maybe the short keys are too much for you, but once you know them, your workflow improves and you get quicker and more efficient in what you do. Okay, so I'm just gonna speed up this process for you, so I don't want you to waste your time. And keep in mind, you're gonna use a lot of Control and Z doing your line work, and that's okay. Just keep trying to get the line that you liked. Okay. Okay, once we are done with our line work, as you can see, it's not perfect. If I hide my sketch layer, you're gonna see my line work so far. From here, since we're going for the comic book style sort of thingy, I'm gonna hide my sketch layer. As I said, I'm gonna make another layer underneath my lines. Make a new layer. We're gonna call this fill layer. And there's two ways you can color your line work. The fastest one is the fill tool. I'm just gonna take lighter green color. I'm gonna just come here, even lighter than that, maybe. There we go. And boom, my artwork is all colored up. And as you can see, the line, not very smooth underneath the line, the behind the lines. That makes sense. So far so good. So I have my fill layer. So we can create a clipping mask in Krita, or if we're not gonna make much changes to our color, if we know what kind of color we're gonna use, we can use the same layer for that. What I mean by that, let's just say I pick this color, I don't know, I'm not sure yet, and I go back to my brush tool and I want to color this, right? Let me just uncheck the options that I put here. Let me just check back to this one, right? Come here. So I want to color this. So the idea, what I did, I wanted to work faster because I made a fill with the same color, obviously, of my line work. The idea is when you press this button over here on your brush options, your brush will color only on the places that it's filled. Because here there's nothing. If I try to draw here, I won't see what I drew because I have checked this option. There's one option here that allows me to draw only on the filled areas. In this case, this is my filled area over here. So if I make a bigger brush, I can go here and make this weird oops, there we go, this weird shape, and so on and so on. Now I don't like drawing on a random here. It's important when you color, when you learn the art of the digital painting. It's I will recommend a couple of other classes, actually 3 classes, people who you can look up. One of them is Marco Bucci. He's amazing because he talks about how to paint light, because that's at the end of the day, that's what we do. We paint light. We paint how the light hits objects. So in this case here, my light is coming from here, right? So from here, this area will be lighter, and on the other side, because it's, let's say this is behind, there's no light, so it will be the dark place. This is one of the ways you can paint in Krita. Now, I do understand that you may want to add some other effects to this. You may want to change different colors. It's a bit hard, like if we're working on the same layer, it's really hard to, play around with the colors, play around with the shadows and midtones and everything. So I'm going to show you. Let's say, let's just finish this. Let's just put a darker color, maybe like this, to emphasize where is this coming from. There we go. I don't know if this makes sense for you, but yeah, this is the darker place on the pot, the fill, the basic coloring that you can do in Krita. If I remove the lights, you're gonna see this. So I'm gonna try to color in a different way. First, paint all the shadows and the highlights, and then to add the color. So that's very common method that people use as well. I'm gonna create a new layer again. I'm gonna come here. Where's my fill tool? I can come here with the fill tool again. I'll make maybe this kind of color. And this time I'm gonna make this layer. Let's just say fill tool. There we go. And I'm gonna make this layer to group this layer actually into a quick clipping group. Which what happens is puts my layer with another layer on top, which will be my mask layer. And if I deselect this, that layer now is just a simple layer. But if I select this again, that layer becomes a mask layer. This is very important. So now I'm gonna go back on my brush tool, and I mean you can go next here. I'm gonna paint the grayscale. I'm gonna use only black and white or gray, different variations of that, and just pick a brush. I don't know which brush. It really depends on the style that you're looking for. Now nothing happens because I'm on the same color. Let's just bring a darker color, and it's very important before you start coloring or adding shadows or whatever. Just make sure to know from where is your light coming. Okay, where is your light coming from? Is it from here? Is it from here? Is it from the bottom? I'm gonna make my light coming from in front of here, from this. So it will hit here. Here will be the lightest. That makes sense. And on the sides will be darker, because we have a shape here. We need to make sure that we are making our shape properly. So I'm gonna use this brush. You can always change. I'm gonna change like a bunch of brushes during this process, because I want to see what all the brushes can do. And it's very important, like in the beginning, to experiment with the different brushes. So don't just use one brush. Let's just switch up a little bit. And it's important to know, like, if you're going for a specific style, it's good to watch other people how they do it. And once you know how to use the tool, in this case it's Krita. If you know how to use Krita, you can do any style possible you want. But everything happens with simple steps. I need to pick a brush. Let's say pick this one. There we go. I don't like that much this one. What else you can do is, as you can see, there's options for the brushes. I can increase the size. I can also lower the opacity of the brush, so it's not that hard. There we go. And the other thing, you don't need to worry that you're gonna go out of the pot, because your layer is a mask layer, so it will be only visible on this layer and not out of it, if that makes sense. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna put some more shadows, and maybe I will light up the saturation to put a little bit of bright areas, which is could be this one. And once you paint, you can take the same colors from your base, if you will, from your pot, by holding the Control key and pick. There will be a picker. This is your picker tool, whatever. And you can pick a color, and it's quicker that way, if you will. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I guess I'm happy with how this is turning out. So once you're happy with your shadows and everything, and once you're done with your you know, grayscale mask layer, and now it's time to color. And we just have to create a new layer in the same folder, right? And this layer, we can also put him as a mask. Okay, click here, and now if I change the color, I'm gonna only color the layer we need. Alright, let's just do a test and see. There we go. That's what will happen if your layer is not, this here is not clicked. It won't be a mask layer, and it will go everywhere, right? Let me just hold Control and Z for that. The same thing goes for this layer. Right? I'll check, you'll see how much I went outside of the pot. I'm gonna keep this. We can also as you can see, that's before, that's after, and I'm gonna add colors. This way, this method I think is better, especially if you're a beginner, because this way you can clearly see where are your shadows and where are your highlights. And I personally have this huge problem. I cannot decide what kind of color I want to use most of the time, and I end up you know, going in circles to decide what kind of color should I use for this and that. And this way you can technically already paint, and you can change the color depends on your likings. That makes sense. So I have my new color here. We can call this color. Come on, double click on it. Color layer, or just color, just press enter. And what will happen is I don't know, let's just make this green for some reason. You can pick maybe a softer brush. There we go. Make it bigger, make it better, look them. I'm sorry. Okay, so that was green. What that's supposed to be? It's not. We're kind of covering our shadows that we work on. So you make sure you select your color, right? You go here on layers here, and on normal there is a drop down menu, and I usually go overlay, and as you can see now this layer has a overlay function mode or whatever on our shadow layer. And from here I can press harder, lighter, I can change the color, and it will automatically you know, update on my. Okay, we can change the brush as well. I have this. I can use a lighter color here. And you can, you know, just do an experiment, and you can bring more lights on your pot, and you will get that kind of effect. Now, let's say we're happy with it. I'm not, to be honest with you. maybe a little bit. There we go. Dimension here. Now let's say I want to get rid of the thick lines. If I get rid of the thick lines, you see that it didn't color on that place where are the thick lines. So now what I can do is either close my group, like as you can see I can expand my group, and I can hide it like this. On top I want to create a new layer. On that layer I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna color lines like this, and have the same names. You can name your layer whatever you want. My idea right here is to get that color brush, make sure the opacity is 100, and go on top my color, my illustration, zoom in a little bit, maybe take this layer, and you know, go around. Now you can do this in a couple of ways, I guess. You can either go back to the lines, right, and on that line, on that layer with the lines, you can come here and activate this function of your brush. So now I can only go on top of the lines. I can do this, and I think this way is way much easier if you have to create a new layer to create the new lines and whatever. But let's say you want to use these lines for the previous style that we already made. So that's not the best idea. To let's just hit Control a couple of times. Let's just duplicate that layer with the lines. You can click the right button with your mouse. It says duplicate layer or mask. And that's the one, that's the copy of line. Let's just hide lines because I'm gonna compare the two styles that we did. This style and this style, right? And it's up to you which one you wanna go. So I'm gonna go on the copy of the lines layer, and I'm just gonna go on top and I'm gonna paint. So I want to group the two styles. I'm gonna go here on top and until the group. I will hold Control, not Control, Shift, so I can select all of them. I click and group and quick group, and now I have this group here. I can move that with this. Let's put this here. And I can come back here on these. I can group these as well, holding Control this time or Shift, is up to you. And we're gonna group this. Quick group. There we go. Sure, we selected that. And yeah, we have two different styles that we color in Krita. Totally different from one another. And we use only the brushes that we have here, and the different modes, different tools that Krita provides. And it's up to you. I know this has been a long tutorial, a long class for you, but I hope you learned something today. We can finish these off. We can actually add some background. I'm gonna create a new layer, and here I'm just gonna take maybe I don't know, maybe yellow. Just create yellow, and I'm gonna pick a random brush from here. Now I know that I didn't discuss those brushes here. They have special, if you will, function, which is, let's say you have two colors. Let's just bring another color, which is this one, and I have selected this brush. So now I can mix both of the colors. So there we go. What I'm doing, I'm just making a mess. There we go. This is one of the brushes, one of the styles. Let's just make another one over here, maybe. We're gonna color this. It's a volcano. Let me just take another. There we go. So now it will mix. Let's just try another one. This one. Maybe this one. So yeah, I mean, there's different mode, different brushes that you can experiment with, and you can make amazing and interesting effects with your digital drawing. So I hope this was helpful for you. Your project for this class will be obviously to create one of the parts, or if you don't want to draw a part, draw another object by your choosing, and try to color them with the different styles I showed you here. Right? So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help. And yeah. Oh, and obviously I need to show you how to export finish your drawing. Well, once you're happy with what you have here, you just go to File, and instead of Save or whatever, we go to Export, and on Export you will get this window. You will go select where you want to save this, and on Save As Type you just go, either you're gonna save it as PNG or JPEG image. I like to save mine in PNG, so I'm gonna click Save. It will ask me about options. I'm gonna leave these as they are. I'm gonna click OK, and let me bring out, where is it? Let me just put this on my picture. Anyway, hope you like this. Let me know if you want me to do more tutorials on Krita and how to paint. Cheers.